Yep, I'm here.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Billy Williams. I absolutely appreciate you being here today. Today, we're going to talk about lead management in an agency, especially internet leads. This is the third of our 5 web meeting series on internet leads. The first one was a member-only series where we talked about generating your own internet leads. The second one, we had EverQuote real-time internet leads on, and they were telling us a little bit about the best practices for real-time internet leads. Today we have Blitz Lead Manager and Brittany Gallatin. She's our special guest, and she's going to talk about handling the workflows and doing all those things that we need to do to make sure that we're maximizing our return on investment with internet leads. The fourth session will be next Thursday. We're going to have the aged leads, where we're going to talk about the best way to handle aged leads. And then our fifth session is a member-only session where we'll recap everything and we'll go deeper into generating your own internet and web leads. But we absolutely appreciate you being here today. So with that being said, let me bring Brittany on and let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her and Blitz and what she plans on accomplishing today. So go ahead, Brittany, please.
Thanks, Billy, and thank you everyone for joining today. I'm Brittany. I've been with Blitz for about 4 years now. Currently, I'm overseeing our support and account management teams. At Blitz, we're all about process improvement here, so we help our customers every day fine-tune their sales and follow-up process using Blitz, which I'll be going into today, as well as, internally, we're looking for ways to improve the way that we're handling and assisting our clients. So that's really what I'm here to talk to you about today, is how you can utilize technology to make sure your process is effective as possible, specifically with internet leads we're talking about, by automating it and then also analyzing your results to make sure that you're always improving your process too.
All right, perfect. All right. So let me go in here one more time, and I'm getting emails over here that said people are saying, I can't log on. Guys, we're at full capacity today, so some of you will not be able to get on the web portion of the web meeting, and you just have to dial in by phone. If you leave the web session, you're probably not going to get back in again. So again, if you lose your connection or whatever, dial in by phone so that you can hear that part of it. Let me start with my disclaimer. We're a mentoring company, not a legal firm. We can discuss generalities and recommendations for using Inspire Nation business mentoring processes in ways that are consistent with our understanding of the laws. Our training is not a substitute for you obtaining competent, specific legal advice on any of the subjects covered in the training, scripting, and implementation of process suggestions. In some cases, there may be federal, state, or local laws, as well as specific carrier guidelines that may alter, impact, enhance, or supersede the way Inspire Nation teaches and recommends a process. Our training does not address these issues. Again, specific legal advice should be sought to ensure compliance. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to do a quick poll question, and then we'll come back to the remaining, housekeeping pieces. I want to make sure that you can clearly see and hear the session. So on your screen there, you'll have something pop up that says, can you clearly hear and see the session? If this is your first time being on an Inspire Nation webinar, first of all, thank you for being here. But this is a live interactive poll. So what I need for you to do is take your cursor, actually go up to the appropriate answer and click, and that will register. So again, please go up to the appropriate answer there and click. Once we're over 90%, I'll go ahead and show you the results, and we'll move on to our next poll question. And we're right at 90%. Excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and share the results with you. 100% of you say you can clearly see and hear the session. Excellent. That means we can move on with the rest of our training. Now, our next poll question is this your first Inspire a Nation mentoring webinar? Is this your first Inspire a Nation mentoring webinar? And your choices are, yes, this is my first IAN webinar, and no, this is not my first IAN webinar. And again, once we get up to about 90%, I shut it all down, and then we go from there. Right now, we're at 80%, so I need the rest of you that are not voting, go ahead and take your cursor, go up to the screen there, click on and vote for us, please, so we can move on with our training. All right, perfect. Thank you so much. So let's clear this. and let's share the results with you. 67% of you say, yes, this is my first IAN webinar, and 33% of you say, no, this is not my first IAN webinar. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now let's talk about question and answers. I'm really big into interactive, meaning I want you to talk to me. I don't want just you just type in questions. I want to unmute you. I want to hear your voice. I want to talk to you. And you have 3 ways to ask questions throughout the webinar. First is if you're on the phone, raise your hand or click on the little hand icon there, and I'll send you a PIN number if you didn't put one in up front, and I'll unmute you and I can talk to you. Brittany and I can talk to you. The second way is if you have a computer microphone, you can raise your hand, I'll unmute you, and then you can talk to us that way. And then, of course, you can always ask static questions by using the questions button that's right there. But I'd prefer to talk to you, okay? Today's training, we're going to talk about using web forms to generate your own internet and web-based leads. Brittany's going to go over the actual steps involved in an effective lead management program. She's going to show us, of course, using Blitz Lead Manager as our demonstration tool. There are also some handouts on the right side, and as we go through the training, I'll ask you to download 1 or 2 of those handouts, and those are on the handout tab of the GoToMeeting box that's right there on the side. So very easy to get to. All right, so with that being said, let's jump into some other poll questions that are out here that we want to get into. So the next poll question is, do you currently purchase internet leads? Do you currently purchase internet leads? And for those of you on the phone, your choices, or the choices of those on the web, are yes, I currently purchase real-time internet leads, or no, I do not currently purchase real-time internet leads. So do you currently purchase internet leads? So far, 78% of you have voted. Usually, Brittany, whenever we ask this question and we're talking about something specific, most of the folks that answer the question are people that already do it. They just want to get better at doing it. So I'm curious about these results. All right, we're over 90%. So let's close and share the results with you. 79% of you say, yes, I currently purchase real-time internet leads. 21% of you say, no, I do not currently purchase real-time internet leads. So again, that's pretty typical, Brittany, of the results that I see. Next question is, what do you see as the main problem with internet leads? What do you see as the main problem with internet leads? And the choices are price, quality, or the amount of necessary contact attempts. Again, your choices are price, quality, and the amount of necessary contact attempts. So far, 75% of you have voted. Again, that question for those of you on the phone, what do you see as the main problem with internet leads? What do you see as the main problem with internet leads? All right, we're over 90%. So let's share the results with you. 13% say price. 77% say quality, fake contact information, person never really requested a quote, that kind of thing. 10% say the amount of necessary contact attempts. So that's what your peers are saying, guys. These are the real issues that they feel like they're facing with the internet leads. So with that being said, here's my statement before I turn things over to Brittany. Generally, the agencies with the best technology, that use the technology effectively and consistently, and that track the actions of the staff members responsible for working leads in the agency, will see a much greater success rate than agencies that don't use technology. And I think you should multiply that by 100 if you're trying to work real-time leads. Guys, I can tell you this right now. If you're buying real-time leads and you're calling them 20 minutes later, 45 minutes later, twice a day in the morning, or, that kind of stuff, it's not going to work. It's, when I say twice a day, meaning maybe once in the morning and once in the afternoon, but you never got to them within that first 5 or 10 minutes. Real-time internet leads just might not be for your agency. And that's reality if you're not going to use some technology to make yourself more efficient. And I'll give you some real statistics as we go deeper into the training, but you definitely want to have the best technology. You want to use it effectively and consistently. And more importantly, you got to track. You can't have those neglected leads and all those things that are running out there. So what does a successful agency lead management program look like? Well, first of all, you know how the lead came into the agency. You know where the lead's contact information and notes are stored and where they can easily be retrieved. You know who's responsible for quoting and contacting the lead. You know how many techniques are being used to contact the lead, not just one, not just call, but multiple ways. You know how many attempts have been made to contact the lead, and you know the future follow-up schedule for the lead. So, Brittany, would you agree with that? Is that kind of the picture of a successful lead management program?
Absolutely. I mean, people who are not using technology, that's one of the issues, is the fact that the owner or the manager cannot really see what's going on with the staff. So everyone's kind of just doing their own thing, and they really don't have that visibility. So
Gotcha.
this will really help them, fine-tune what needs to be improved and gives them a lot more information they can work with.
Okay, perfect. So here's what I'm going to do, Brittany. I'm going to switch over to you. I'm going to make you the presenter. So we'll all
Alrighty.
look at your screen and let you do your thing. All right, perfect.
All right. Can you see it?
Yes,
We're all
ma'am.
good?
We're all good. The floor
Okay,
is yours.
perfect. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining, and thank you for the intro, Billy. So before I jump into the program, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how it works and really the purpose of Blitz. So really, you can bring any types of contacts into Blitz. It's used to manage any type of leads that you have. So I know today we're focusing mostly on internet leads, but you can bring in referrals, you can import spreadsheets, you can use it for cross-selling. So it's really a one-stop shop for all of your contacts you need to follow up with. That way you have consistent reporting, and everyone's on the same page in your office. So today we're going to talk about specifically internet leads and how those work with Blitz and how you can follow up more effectively using our program. So the first thing I wanted to show you, so for those of you who are new to Blitz and you haven't heard much about us yet, you can check out our website. It's www.nowblitz.com. That's NOWBLITZ.com. And right now I'm looking at the partners page. So what's great about Blitz is that we have a lot of different lead provider partners. What we see right here on the page, this isn't all of them. There's still a few new ones that we haven't added yet. This list is growing all the time. And the way that the partnership works is any of these vendors, pretty much all of the top lead providers, including EverQuote, for those of you who are on the previous webinar, we do integrate with them. I don't think they're on our page here yet, but we do. The way that works is when you receive that real-time lead, it'll automatically drop into Blitz that moment, and you can have it set up to automatically assign it to someone in your staff. You could also choose to do a Shark Tank method, as we call it, where it's everyone gets notified and whoever gets to it first gets it. So as Billy mentioned, calling in that first 5 minutes can greatly increase your chances. I mean, if you let it hang out there for a while, that's going to definitely reduce your chances of even getting a hold of the person. So you want to make sure that they're notified and they're on it right away. And I'll be showing you in a minute here, we have it set up where there's a pop-up within the system. So if they're logged into Blitz, a pop-up will appear. It'll show them, hey, there's new leads in the system. They can click on it, takes them right there. So that way they're on it right away. Even if they're not logged into Blitz, they'll also get an email notification saying, hey, you have a new lead in the system. So that's the number one reason that we're talking about here, is the fact that it's notifying your staff right away so that way they can get on it, because you don't want that lead that you paid for to go to waste. So I'm going to jump over to Blitz, and I'll just show you. First, I'm just going to talk about how to set it up. I'm not going to take you through every little setting or anything. I'm just going to show you kind of generally how to set it up, the different ways you can bring leads in here. And then we'll be talking about how to automate part of the process and how you can track some things as well. So they all kind of encompass into one system. So the first thing is the internet leads. So I'm going to just show you here an example. So if we go here to the administration tab, and for those of you, if you're not able to see my screen, if you are just on the phone, I just want to stress that we do offer free training and support here. So if it's something that you need help getting set up, we would be happy to walk you through it. So I'm here under Web Lead Setup. This is the full list. And if anyone was curious about someone that we integrate with, I can answer that for you. Here's a few just different examples. Here's EverQuote. We'll do them for an example here. So you can configure the provider you're working with. You can also choose, I'll just enable this. You can also choose an auto-assign group. You can even set up different auto-assign groups. Say you want auto leads to go to one person, maybe home leads to go to another person, or something like that. This is customizable, so you can set it up however you'd like.
Hey, Brittany, let me jump in real quick. You brought up something that is a real issue that I see around the industry, and that's you will assign leads specifically to go to one producer. Okay, auto leads go here, homeowners leads go there, and you don't have any kind of backup to that. So now when that person either gets swamped or that person is not as effective or as efficient as you would like them to be, a lot of times agents aren't tracking any of this. They're not going into the administrator toolbox. They're not looking at to see how many neglected leads, and they continue to funnel money into these leads. And then when you go into the neglected leads, they're 80, 90, 100 neglected leads, and they're neglected means that I guess the time has passed for them to call them, and they don't mark them as complete or called or contacted or anything. So guys, just be careful with that as you're assigning leads to people. If you're going to, make sure first and foremost that person is good at doing whatever you're assigning them to do. And second of all, take some time and actually manage that campaign. So I just want to touch on that, Brittany, because I see that as a big issue around the industry.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we even have that here in our office too. People that are, for example, submitting support tickets to us if they have a question about our software. We don't want that to go to someone who's not available or not even here. So one thing, there's a few different things you can do, but like the Shark Tank I mentioned, if you just want everyone in your office to be notified and just whoever gets it first gets it, that, you know, if you want your staff to be a little more aggressive, you could do it that way. Your staff, they can also remove themselves from an auto-assign group. So if they're going to be at lunch or if they're gone for the day or on vacation or something, they can take themselves out of the group too. So there's a few different options, and you know, we're always happy to walk you through what makes the most sense for you. So I don't want to spend too much time here on the setup because, like I mentioned, that's something we can help you with, and I'm sure that's probably not why any of you are here today, to learn how to set it up. You really want to know how it works. So I'm just going to show you basically how the web form works as well, and then we'll talk about really the important stuff, which is how to automate the process, how to track things, etc. So the next thing I wanted to show you, I just mentioned or went over the internet leads. If you're purchasing them from a provider, another way that you can generate new leads is by using a web form. So these aren't leads that you're purchasing, these are leads that you're generating yourself. So you might have a form out on your website, maybe on a Facebook page. You might have a link in your email signature asking your customers for referrals that they could fill out a form for that. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use this form to generate your own leads. And those are going to be the best quality you can get because you know that someone just went to your form and filled it out asking for information. So I'll show you really quickly here how to set that up and how it works. And we can even see what it looks like when a new lead comes in and how you're notified about it.
Hey, Brittany, save me about 5 minutes once you finish that part right there, because I want to talk about some of the different ways that they can generate their own internet leads. So again, 67% of these folks have never been to one of our webinars before, and I want to make sure they leave with some real value information. So save me about 5 minutes after you finish that, please.
Sure,
right,
absolutely. Okay, I just want to make sure I have notifications on. Yes, I do. Okay. So the next thing is setting up a web form. And you can have as many web forms as you want. So say maybe on your website, maybe you have a web form for auto policy. Maybe you have a separate web form for a home policy. I mentioned a form for referrals from your customers. So you can have multiple different forms for different things. And you can track which form they filled out too. So right now I have one here, a campaign called website form. What we're looking at here, this is just a list of different campaigns. So I'm purchasing leads from different providers. I also have some spreadsheets that I've imported. So these are kind of like folders, basically. So I'm going to open up this website form into the settings here. So I'm going to create a web form. And what we're looking at here is a list of every single field that's available. And you can customize these. Notice down here at the bottom that some of the fields are titled NA, so we're not doing anything with those at the moment. This form is geared towards auto, but you can change these if you have home or whatever else you're looking for. You can customize the names of these fields. So we'll just say, for example, we want to get their auto information. So we'll just check a few of these here. We're going to save it. You can also select your auto assign group here. So same deal with the web form as it is with the web leads. You can have them automatically assigned, or you could have it set up where everyone's notified. So I'm going to view the form. We have a link here. So this form, this is what it looks like. This form is its own website. So if we look up here at the URL bar, you can use this link for whatever you want. You can just put this link out on your Facebook page. You can embed it in your website, which I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. You can put it within your email signature. So all you really have to do is grab this link right here. Real quick, I just wanted to show you, for those of you who have your own website, and even if you're just barely familiar with HTML, it's very simple to embed it within your website. So if I scroll down here,
guys, also this is one of the downloads. I didn't mean to cut you off, Brittany, sorry. Guys, this is also one of the, if you go over in your handouts tab, you'll see a download there or a handout that says generating your own web leads. Go ahead and print that out because this is part of what she's explaining right here. Go ahead, Brittany.
Thanks, Billy. Yes, that handout is exactly what we're looking at here. So that way you can save this information. It's also out on our website, on our blog too. So this little string of information, all you have to do is paste that into the HTML on your website, and you'll put that URL right here. So what you copied from the form up here in the web address bar, all you have to do is just paste that in here, and this form will be available on your website. So you can either do it that way, or you could just have the link, and when they click on the link, it'll just take them to this page, and they can fill it out. So I think now would be a good time then, Billy, to go over generating your own leads before I dive into actually working a lead here.
Okay, so. No problem. All right, so if you can just kind of drive along with me here. So guys, let's go back to that page, Brittany, where you had the download link and all that, the one that the handout matches.
Whoops. Didn't mean to click that.
It's okay. All right, well, while you're doing that, I'll go and explain. Guys, there's so many things that you can do to generate your own web leads. And like she said, those are the highest quality leads that you can get. But let me kind of go into the psychology real quick of a prospect. Okay, the psychology of a prospect. A prospect goes through 3 stages as they're shopping. Stage 1 is awareness. Awareness means that they see something, they get something, someone calls them and makes them aware of a solution or an opportunity that's available to them. You guys as insurance agents, well, I say us, you guys, it's us. We as insurance agents, we are great at awareness. Man, we will blast you, we will email you, we will call you, we will telemarket you, we will social network post you, we'll do all kind of stuff. Okay, we make you aware that we're here. The second stage of a prospect, though, is when they do active research. Active research means that they give you some kind of information to work with. So they fill out an online quote, or they request an information, or they download something, or they show up for a webinar, show up for a conference call. They give you information that you can work with to better fix their problem. This is where we're not good in the insurance industry. Okay, we're not. And this is why we spend so much money on internet leads, because we have forgotten how to acquire information. This is a great way of doing this. So here are a couple of things. I'm just going to throw a couple out at you. My members, you guys know we got a whole list. We got 30-something plus ways that you can generate your own internet leads. But I do want to leave my new attendees today with some real value-based information. So number 1 is have something on your website that they can download. Okay, have something on your website that they can download, whether that's a brochure, whether that's an explanation, maybe it's a question and answer page, whatever it is, have something that they can download. Now you're like, well, why would they come here to download it? Because this is where awareness comes in. So now stage 1, we haven't gotten to stage 3 yet. We're still on stage 1 and 2. So stage 1 is awareness. So I'm going to shoot you out an email. And the email is going to tell you, you know what, I can save you money on your homeowners. I can save you money on your auto. I can do this. I can get your life insurance. I can give you a heart attack, cancer, stroke policy, all that stuff. I'm going to make you aware of what I can do. But I need to know if you're doing active research. So I'm going to say, if you are interested, just give me your name and email address and download this brochure. You can go to my website to do it, or here's the link. That's what she was saying. You can actually post that link right there on your email that you're sending out to them. Social networking. Okay, let's talk about that. Most of you guys have Hearsay Social. It's kind of used by every major insurance company. Hearsay Social has two real strong purposes. One, to post information out. That's the awareness phase. And then the second piece is the triggers, the listening, which is they will notify you if someone says something like, oh, I just had a new baby, or I just changed jobs, or I just moved into a different location, or I just got divorced. So I got whatever those posts are that are out there. Okay, my grandbaby just was just born. Well, that's them giving us information. That's them without even realizing us, giving us that active research, putting us into that active research phase with them. You can take this link and go out to that post and say, here, I see that this has happened. I see that you're on your update, you recently had a baby. You recently changed jobs. You recently relocated. I see that. Here is a link to some downloads, or here's a link to a brochure, or here's a link to some information that can probably benefit you as you go through this transition. I do require that you give me your name and email address so I can keep up with who's downloading our material, but I think the material will really benefit you. Now the person gives you their information. What just happened? They just now went into active research mode. You triggered them into active research mode. The other thing, you guys are buying these internet leads, right? But what are you doing with them? I'm calling them and I'm emailing them. I'm calling them and I'm emailing them. What about tomorrow? I'm calling and I'm emailing again. What about the next day? Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to call and I'm going to email again, Brittany. That's what I'm going to do. Guys, there's so many other things that you can do with those. You can take those, and one of the things we teach our group is every single person that you buy an internet lead from, there should be a LinkedIn request. Every single one of them. You go out and you try to find them on LinkedIn, or you take their email address and you look it up on LinkedIn or the name. And if they're out there, you send out a request. Now, not only am I calling you, not only am I emailing you, but I'm also sending a connection request. And my connection request has very specific wording. You're receiving this request because you requested an online quote for auto, home, whatever it was, and I was assigned your file. Now I have a more personal relationship than the other agent who's calling and emailing and calling and emailing and calling and emailing, especially if they didn't call an email and get in contact with me, or they did call an email and didn't get in contact with me within the first 5 minutes. See, here's what the statistics say. The average person that's looking online for a quote is not going to buy. They're not going to buy within the first 2 weeks. Okay, the average person, only 25% of real-time internet leads close within the first 2 days. Only 25%. That means that 75% of those internet leads close day 3, day 10, day 15, day 20, or some of them just, they won't close at all. They were just out there trying to see what's going on. I'm dreaming about buying a Lamborghini. I wonder what the price would be. Okay, so again, there are some things that you can do with these web forms besides just throwing them on your website and crossing your fingers and hope that people will fill them out for you. There are some things that you can actively do to get them to do that. So phase 1 is awareness. Phase 2 is now they're in active research, which means they're giving me some information. Well, internet leads are already in active research mode. All right. And then phase 3 is decision making. So decision making, which we won't go into today, that's a whole nother training, but decision making is where they've given me information, they've given me accurate information, and now I'm acting on that to fix whatever their problem is. But this web lead is really part of the active research phase, and you can use it with social networking, and you can use it on your website, and you can use it, those of us that use text messaging. And on our forms, we'll say, are we able to text message you information? Yes, you are. Now, guess what? I can take that link, text message it to them and say, here, click on this link here and just fill out this information. This is what I'm missing. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Brittany. But there are a lot of things that you can do with these web forms and get that person into active research mode that's better for you. Okay, and make sure if you have not downloaded it that you will go out to that handout tab and download it. Okay, Brittany, thank you for the 5 minutes. I appreciate it. I tried to, it was actually 4:57, so I think I was okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Billy. So yeah, I mean, you can customize these fields like I mentioned earlier. You can create drop-down boxes. Whatever information you're trying to gather, you can put them on here. You can have as many forms as you want. So that's great information. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get back just into Blitz here. I'm going to fill out this form just so you can see what it looks like when a new lead comes in. It's this one I'm using the form, but it'll work exactly the same when a new web lead comes in too. So I'm just going to put my name, and I'll just add a couple pieces of information here. We'll just put the phone number. All right, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I'm going to click Submit. You can also customize this message as well if you wanted to. If you wanted to say, we'll be reaching out to you within the next, certain period of time, I can put additional information here, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to go back to Blitz. I'm sure you probably didn't hear it through the phone, but my computer just dinged. So you can even have it set up where it'll ding. So that way if you're in a different tab, you'll hear that and you'll say, okay, I got to stop everything I'm doing. I need to call this lead right now. So here's my pop-up. It's letting me know that a new web form lead has been added. So you can click on it right from here. You can also search in Blitz too if you want to do it that way, but the easiest thing to do is just click that link. If you're not logged into Blitz, you'll get an email notification. You can click on the link from there, and then you just have to log in real quick. So what we're looking at now is the lead log, and this is where you're going to house all the information that you need on this lead. So this means your notes, your follow-up appointments, any emails that you've sent out, how many times you've attempted to contact the person. You can even track statistics on whether or not they're reading your emails that they're sending out. There's a whole lot of information all in this one page. Up here in the corner is the basic information. The rest of it is over here in the details. And these are those fields that you can customize. So you can put whatever information you want in here. This is completely customizable. So what's really important about your leads in Blitz, and one of the top things that you need to do in here to make sure it's working effectively, is over here on the left, we have a status and a milestone. When a new lead is added to Blitz, it's marked new, so we know we haven't done anything with this lead yet. But as you move throughout the sales process and you try to contact the person, you get a hold of them, you quote them, et cetera, you'll want to make sure you're changing these. There's a lot of reasons for that. The main ones would be, number one, you want to make sure that you know what's going on with the person. At a glance, you can just see, okay, it looks like I've quoted this person. So you know where you're at in the process at a glance without having to read through a bunch of notes. It's important for the agency owner or the manager to be able to see kind of a large scale overall where you're at with everything. So based on this, you can run reports to see, okay, how many quotes did I do this week? How many sales did I get this week? You can track staff activity, things like how many calls are being made. So any action that they're putting in here and they're updating the status and milestone, that's going to give you a lot of valuable information that you can use. So if things maybe aren't going your way, then you're not just blind trying to try new things. You actually have some data to go by. So you can say, okay, well, maybe this lead provider is working better than that one. Or I noticed that this particular employee isn't making as many calls as this one. So you'll have all of this information to work with, and that will give you a lot more insight in what you can do to make things better. Another thing, too, is automation, which I'll be going into that next. And that is basically a system, we call it workflow. And it will, the two main things it'll do are it'll add appointments to your calendar. And this isn't just appointments. This could be reminders to mail a quote. This could be a reminder to follow up with a phone call. So really anything that you need to do, it'll add the appropriate appointment to your schedule or reminder at the appropriate time. So it'll all be automated based on your follow-up process. It can also include automated emails. So say, for example, you always call right away, and then maybe you send an email the next day, and then 2 days later you call again, or whatever your process is. You can have that automated in Blitz. That way everyone's kind of doing the same thing. All of that is based on the statuses and milestones, because of course you're going to be approaching a new lead and following up with them differently than someone who maybe you quoted 6 months ago and you're following up about a requote, or maybe someone who you've already quoted and you talked to last week. You're going to follow up with them differently, and you're going to be sending different types of emails, and you're just going to be doing different things altogether based on where they're at in the process. So you want to make sure that these are marked properly. That way it'll basically move that lead into the appropriate funnel to do the appropriate things. And this is all custom. So if I click on new here, you can customize these based on your process or whatever terminology you're used to. So, when you sign up for a program like this, you don't have to completely start from square one. You can really build your current process into Blitz, and then you can fine-tune it and make it better as you go. So notice right now I'm in the History tab. You can schedule appointments in here. You can track engagement, so you can see how many emails they're reading and things like that. I'll just do a quick note just so you can see what it looks like. We'll just say, talked to Brittany. We've got the rest of our information. Processed a quote, and she wants a call back on Monday to make a decision. So you can type out whatever you want here. What's great about this is next time you talk to this person, you can see all of your past notes. So you can put little things in there like, oh yeah, they have a dog named Rufus or something. And that really helps you develop better relationships with people too, because they really feel like you care. And that, that can really give you a leg up on, some other agents that are trying to call them. So we'll just say this was a call out. This is a hot lead. And a milestone, this is kind of like a timeline. So we're at the quoted stage in the sales process. So that's what we'll put here. Sometimes you might already be assigned. Sometimes you need to assign it depending on how you have it set up. So here's my note. You can also set up these quick actions, which is basically a one-click note. So if this person said, I'm not interested, never call me again, or something like that, you can just use a quick action so you don't spend all that time typing it out. These can also be customized. So we have little, tricks like that in Blitz that make your process really easy, so you can get on with it. So that is the lead log.
Hey, Brittany, let me jump in here real quick. Let me jump in real quick again before you move into your next screen. I got some questions here that folks are submitting. First question is can you show again where they can check to see what links were clicked in their email?
Sure. Well, let's see. I have to send an email. It's the engagement tab. I haven't sent an email out on this particularly.
And everyone has the engagement tab, right? That's not some special package. Everyone has it. Okay.
Yep. And you can have email templates set up too as well. So if you wanted to create some email templates for different things, you can do that. I'm just going to send a test email to myself.
So guys, this is where you would use the templates to create that form that we're talking about, so that if you're trying to get additional information from people, then you can put that link inside that email.
Yes, definitely. So I just wanted to show you real quick before I get into the engagement. This is actually saved automatically in the notes too, any emails that you send out. So you can track all of your email activity too. Over here in the engagement tab, this basically shows you all of your activity so far. So I might need to get back in here. Let me go back in there. It wasn't refreshed yet. Since I just sent that email, it might take a second. You'll have these different graphs. So history activities, if you just want to see quickly, how many times have I called this person? How many emails have I sent out? This will give you an overall view of what you've done so far with this person. And then the email events, right now all I've done is delivered an email. But if I was to open that email, it'll say that one has been opened. You can even see which email was opened last, and it'll let you know if they clicked any links as well. That's all here on this graph. You can click on it, which right now, okay, this is the one I delivered. If you click on any of the pie slices, it'll open up this little window here that will show you, okay, here's the one that was last delivered. If I was to click on, we'll just, hypothetically, this was opened, I could click on that pie slice, and that'll show me which email was opened. So
Okay.
that's all right here on the engagement tab.
And guys, the reason why that's so important as you send out these emails, you want to know, again, are they in active research mode? So if I have something out there that says, click here to watch my video, or click here to read our testimonials, and they click on that, that tells me they're in active research mode. And that's a person I'm going to follow up with. Hey, I see you went out and I see that you looked at our video, you read our testimonial, so you know a little bit more about us. Let's talk. Let's sit down and let's have a conversation now. I mean, that's important, guys. This is all part of your research on your end to make sure that you're not wasting your time. Just awareness. You're just in the awareness phase, just blasting out emails and calling folks and leaving these messages, and the folks aren't interested or doing anything. So this is another tool that you have that you should be able to go in and say, all right, I've sent this person 4 emails. They haven't clicked on a single link. They haven't looked at a single thing. Now, the thing is, you got to give them something to look at. You got to make it interesting. It just can't be click here if you want to talk to me. No, I don't want to talk to you. I just want a quote. Okay, that's why I even put the whole thing in. I want a quote. And so put something out there, like if you have a testimonial page, put your link to your testimonial page in your emails. If you have a video, put a link to your video so that you'll see if they're in active research mode. Okay, I'm sorry, Brittany.
Oh, no problem. I just wanted to add on to that too. We see a lot of people make that mistake where they'll just send out an email that says something really, really simple and generic, like, hi, I received your request and just want to, finish the quote. Please call me today. It'll just say something like that. Well, what if the person doesn't want to call? You need to give them more than one call to action. Maybe they are just in research mode. Maybe they don't feel like talking about it yet. Give them some other options. Give them a link to the website, things like that. Give them more information than that. So I think spending just a little bit extra time on your email templates can make a huge difference on how many people are getting back to you.
Absolutely. And for my members, please make sure that you're using our email templates, because we do have the testimonials and the videos and all that stuff out there, the links to those things. So please make sure that you're using our testimonials or a modification of it. The other thing I want to talk about real quick, Brittany, before you move on, is as we're talking about people engaging and we're talking about people clicking on links and we're talking about all these other things, guys, what these guys want is they want a quote. Okay, they want a quote. That's why they went on. I want to have some idea of what the insurance is going to be. You guys that are old school, guys and gals that are old school, that I'm not going to send them a quote until I have accurate information. I'm not going to send them a quote until I talk to them. I'm not going to send them a quote until they come in my office. Guys, that is not 2015. In 2015, people want some kind of reaction to their action. So send them out the best quote that you can. Use the information. Don't make it up. If they've given you information, use the information that they've given you. But if they didn't say they had a home and auto, or they didn't want a home and auto, then give them a home and auto discount on the quote. If they say, you know what, I'm not sure if I'm going to have multi-policy or multi-line, or I'm going to have multiple cars, hey, go ahead and click the box to give it to them anyway. And then make sure that in your wording that you say, this is not an accurate quote. The only way I can give you an accurate quote is if I actually have a conversation with you and verify, but I did want to put something in your hands. Here's the deal, okay? And this is the best way it was explained to me. Kids are very simple about stuff. So I have a 13, a 12, and an 11-year-old that each own an insurance agency. Okay, yeah, I know that sounds crazy, but I own multiple agencies, and of course they each have kind of their own pet agency. So my 13-year-old, who really is a business guy, he's really business minded. He was explaining something to one of the staff in one of the agencies, and he said, send out the quote. Send out the quote. I don't care if it's real. I don't care if it's this. I don't care if it's that. Send out the quote. And of course, he's talking to like a 30-year-old woman, and she's like, why would I do that? Why would I send out something and it not be accurate? And he used this analogy that I thought was amazing. He said, okay, if I was set up on a blind date, and I called the girl and asked her, so what do you look like? And she said, oh, I'm fat and I'm ugly and I got pimples all over me and I got warts all over my nose. That date is never going to happen. Okay? Never, ever, ever going to happen. But if she said, I don't know, I'm okay. I'm average. You just got to see for yourself. All right, that date might happen. Same thing with your internet leads, guys. If you send out this quote or you don't send out a quote because you're waiting on accurate information, 30 other people have already sent out the trial information, or here's our best rate information if you qualify. They're in the game. You're not even in the game yet. Okay, so when we're talking about these emails and mailing out stuff, even if you can't send out a quote, but I know you captive guys, it's very difficult a lot of times for you to send out an accurate quote. I get it. but don't hesitate on sending something that has some numbers in it, because that's what people want. When they go to Amazon, they're not waiting on Amazon to say, hey, you know what? Give me more information and I'll give you an accurate price. They say, look, here are 75 items that meet what you said. Which one do you want me to talk about? When they go to Google, when they go to eBay, when they go all these other places, and they put their information in, they get back something that says, here is something to work with. And then as we go deeper in the process, we'll work better. Same thing here. Don't cut your own throats by not sending out something. All right? All right, Brittany, thank you so much for that time. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, that's a really great point. I like that analogy. People, I just want to add that people are impatient these days. I mean, how many of you, I'm sure, have, your Wi-Fi is not working, and you just throw your hands up because you want this information right now. So, people are impatient. They just want something to look at. So that's, just getting something out there is better than nothing at all. So, okay, we've talked about the lead log. So the next thing I wanted to show you is I mentioned the automation and how that works, and how you're going to be following up differently depending on the types of leads and where you're at in the sales process and things like that. So I wanted to show you what we call the workflow, which is really, in my opinion, the most powerful tool that Blitz has. It's going to automate your whole process, make sure that everyone's consistent. As far as staff consistency with following up, it's very important. If everyone's following up the same way, it makes it much simpler then to analyze where improvements need to be made in your process or in your lead sources, because it takes out that factor of everyone doing things differently. So that's going to make your reporting much more accurate. So I'll go here to the workflows.
Hey, Brittany, I have a question while you're doing that.
Sure.
Cordia wants to know, Cordia, sorry if I'm messing up your name, wants to know, are you able to assign to staff based on the day of the week?
It doesn't work like that. What people normally do is they can take themselves in and out of the group. So when they're leaving for the day, they can take themselves out of the group if they're not going to be there. So that's usually how people accomplish that.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Good question. I'm sure a lot of you have part-timers, so that's what you can do in that case. Or you can also do the Shark Tank, where it's not assigned to a particular person. It just sends an email out to everyone, and then whoever gets it, gets it. So a couple of different options there. So here's an example, what I have here up on my screen, of a workflow. Now, at first glance, you might say, whoa, what is all this? But let me break it down for you. So we have different titles for them. So okay, this particular one is for manually added leads and internet leads. So this is going to be any lead that comes in from a lead provider, comes in from a web form that you type in. Maybe you have a referral, for example. We have this filter section. This is basically who are you targeting, and this is customizable. So if you wanted to have a very specific process for each of your web forms, you could, that's possible. You could do something like that. So the filters breaks it down. In this case, I only want to target leads that are manually added or web leads. They have to have a status of new or attempted contact. So this particular process is for people that we're trying to get a hold of. We haven't talked to them yet. Because, of course, your emails, for example, those are going to say different things to someone that you're trying to get a hold of versus someone that you've already talked to. So you want to make sure that you're targeting the right people and it makes sense for the wording of your emails that are going out. And it has to be assigned. So down here, the triggers and actions, this is your calendar or your timeline of what days things are happening on and what is actually going to happen on that day. So in this case, when the lead is 1 day old, so it's based on how long it's been in Blitz, it's going to schedule a follow-up. And you can customize what it'll say on the calendar too. Some people will say, make that first call, don't leave a voicemail. Or leave a voicemail the first time. Maybe the second call, don't leave a voicemail. And then maybe send out a mailer. You have all these specific steps, so you can actually word that here on your calendar so they know what they're actually supposed to be doing at that time. Day 2, in this example, it's sending out an email. It'll tell you what the email template is called, and so on and so forth. So day 5, day 7, this particular one goes to day 30. Because, if you're trying to get a hold of someone for a whole month and nothing's happening, it's probably time to move on. So as you can see here, there's a few other examples of workflows, but the one that we're focusing on right now is the manually added internet leads. So this will ensure that everyone's following up consistently. They'll see these appointments on their calendar, and you'll be able to track to make sure that they're actually doing these things too, by checking neglected leads, which I'll be showing you in a little bit. But as the administrator, you can make sure that no one has any neglected leads that they were supposed to have followed up with, and they haven't yet.
All right, I have a question out here for you. Gary wants
Sure.
to know, he says the workflow is only triggered one time per day. So how do you use it for multiple steps per day, like call and then 2 hours later you do something and then maybe 3 hours later you email something?
There's a few different ways that you can accomplish that. You could have multiple follow-ups in one day. So you could have a 9 o'clock call, 1 o'clock call, 4 o'clock call if you wanted to. So we could put multiple. In this example, we only have one per day. We even do down here, when the lead first comes in, if you're calling multiple times that first day, you can have multiple calls added to your schedule that first day too when it comes in.
So Gary, sounds like you just need to call Blitz and update your workflows.
Yep, we can definitely help you with that. There's some other ways you can do that too, which your account manager can help you out with that on some different options for you.
All right. And so he had another question.
So good question.
He has another question. Says, would they still run if you sold it on the first call? And I think that depends on if he properly updated the status, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So now, if it created 3 appointments in one day, you sell them on the first call. Those other appointments, those are already going to be on your schedule. So in that case, you would just have to delete them. But other than that, day 2, day 4, none of those other things will happen as long as you're updating it correctly.
And that's because the system updates overnight? Is that why?
Yeah, it adds all the appointments in the morning for you. There is another way you can get around that. We have the quick actions, which when you make the call, you can, instead of adding a note the normal way, you can use that drop-down, and that will add your appointment for 2 hours later. So
Gotcha.
You could use those instead of the workflow if you wanted to make sure that you didn't have any appointments hanging out there.
Yeah, I don't think we're all going to sell on that first call, so we probably need to do the workflow.
That's the way that you can make sure you're the most consistent.
Okay, got it.
All right,
Brittany, you got about 5 more minutes, and then we got to open it up for questions.
Okay, so we've talked about the important stuff as far as web leads and web form leads. I did want to point out that you're able to import a list. So if you have aged internet leads, for example, you can import that as a spreadsheet. So I'm not going to take you through the whole process just for time's sake, but you can do that. You can distribute them out by percentage if you wanted to, or you could just not assign them, and it will basically, your staff can just go through and assign it to themselves as they go. So a couple different ways you can do that. You can set up also a workflow for aged internet leads or any other process that you have. You can see I have a few here, one for X-dating, one for cross-selling. Here's the aged internet leads. For aged internet leads, now that's a list that you're buying and importing. So with those, we suggest that you start the workflow after you call the person. The reason for that is you want to make sure that you're not blasting them with emails that maybe they're not expecting. The thing about emails is that people get a lot of them. If they weren't expecting your email, they could just ignore it, or even worse, they could mark it as spam, which would affect your future deliverability, or it'll just lose the sale for you before you even had a chance at it. So we always suggest with purchase lists or aged internet leads, or just basically anyone that you haven't talked to in a really long time or you've never talked to, we suggest calling first, because they're more likely to listen to a voicemail that they have than of email. They could just delete it and not even look at it. So that process is a little bit different. You can
doesn't it also impact their status with you? Like, can't they get, I won't say blacklisted, but can't they get turned off the ability to email out of Blitz if they send out a bunch of junk emails or a bunch of spam emails?
That is true. We do have policy on that, and that's not just Blitz being the bad guys. That is email providers. They have certain rules, and we don't want you guys to get blacklisted. Basically what that means is the email providers will remember you. They'll remember your IP address, your email address, things like that. if they see that a bunch of people are marking your email spam, they're just going to start sending you right to the spam folder. And we don't want that for you. That affects Blitz as well, so we don't want that for anyone. We want your emails to be as effective as possible. So with older leads or leads that you've never talked to, we would suggest making that phone call first, introducing yourself, or even leaving a voicemail so that they'll probably listen to that first, and then they'll recognize, oh, it's that person from my voicemail. When they look at the email, they're much more likely to look at it and actually do something with it then. So yes, good point. So, and here's just a sample workflow that I have. It's based on after the milestone has been marked contacted. You could do the same thing with quoted. You could add other filters if you wanted to. This is great for quotes. You know, if you quote someone, you don't want to just never follow up with them again. You know, if you don't sell them right then, you want to keep following up with them. So it's great to have a workflow that'll remind you, you know, maybe a couple of days later, if you haven't heard back from them, it'll remind you, oh, I should probably call and follow up, or maybe I should send an email, or maybe send a hard copy to their address, you know, send a mailer to them. So there's a couple, you know, different things you can do that you could build here into the workflow.
Can't you also automatically roll them over into an X date process that starts 60 days prior to their perceived renewal date? Isn't that a pretty quick fix as well?
Yeah, right here I have actually on this one, day 21, so that's 3 weeks after you quoted them. Last follow-up call, and then change to requote. So in that case, if you quoted them, they just, you know, it didn't pan out for some reason, then you don't want to just let that fall through the cracks. Maybe it's, you know, something happened. You know, maybe it's just a bad time for them. So now you have this person's information. You know that they were interested at some point. So you can always change it to requote, which will drop them into this other workflow that will follow up based on their X date. So there's different dates that will trigger these based on what makes sense. So this particular one, it's not based on how long you've had the lead. It's based on what you have listed as their X date. And then it'll just pop up 30 days or 60 days before their X date. So that way you can continue the follow-up based on that. And something really cool with that workflow is once the X date passes, Blitz will automatically add 6 months to it. So it's not just a one-time thing. You know, you can just keep following up every 6 months before their X date until something happens. So that keeps people in your pipeline. And that's another really important thing about using a system like this is people who are not utilizing technology, a lot of times, you know, they're not following up with that. They don't have this database to work from. And, you know, speaking of database, you know, having them in a system like this, you can search your leads based on anything, too. Say, for example, you heard that particular, you know, other carriers' rates went up or something like that. You could search everyone who has that carrier right now and follow up with those particular people. So having them all saved in a system like this can really help you up your sales quite a bit.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so we got about a minute left. So I need you to hit them with those neglected leads, and then we got a couple of poll questions.
Perfect.
We're probably going to go about 15 minutes over, guys, but I still want to give you time to ask your questions. So I want to make sure that we're doing that.
So, yep, I'll wrap it up here. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about was the neglected leads. Basically, a neglected lead is just a missed appointment. Anything that was on the calendar, which includes things that were added by the workflow. So if it's adding appointments, or even if you're adding your own appointments, if you're not following through with those, they're going to be marked neglected. So I'm logged in as an administrator right now, and I can see how many neglected leads each person in my office has. So if I click on them, it'll take me to the list, and I can click on the names from here. And all I have to do to unneglect the lead is just add a note. So once I've added my history here saying that I have followed up with this person like I was supposed to, then it will be taken off the neglected leads list. So this is your backup. You know, this prevents leads from falling through the cracks, especially those days where you get busy and you don't even come close to making all of your calls, which I know it happens to all of you sometimes. You know, maybe a customer walked in and, you know, took up half your day or something. Then this will let you know who you still need to follow up with and who you're falling behind on, so you can catch back up. So that's really the purpose of neglected leads, and to make sure your staff is doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so here's what I want to do. I think Angel is out here. Angel, can you talk to me?
Yep.
Okay, so Angel, what was your question?
I just wanted to know where we could get that web form tab at. Again, I must have looked away for like a split second and some issues on a whole other page.
Okay.
Sure. That was under Manage Campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
And each web form is associated with a campaign. So I was under this website form campaign. And if you go under the settings for that campaign, which is this little hammer and wrench icon, then there's a tab within here for web form, and you can view the form.
Okay, that's perfect. That's what I needed. Thank you.
So, Angel, hold on before you go. How do you plan on using that web form?
How do I plan on using it?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I'm actually watching this for the agency owner. I wanted to let him know how to do it.
Okay, so what are you going to tell him to do, though? You're obviously going to have some ideas about how you can use it. What are some of the things you're going to tell him that he can do with it?
We still have a lot that's up in the air. I know that there's an ability when you have on Facebook where you go and you select what people would call like a store. It's a shop button, and when you click on it, you go to the link, it automatically will take you to this link to fill out your information for a lead.
Okay. You really don't want to ever give a person 2 or 3 clicks to have to find something. You really want to put that on the front page of your Facebook.
I know that. That's not something that's not the advertisement itself.
Ah, gotcha.
Okay. That is if someone were to be viewing our page just for whatever reason. This is just another extra place to put the link.
Perfect.
If someone's viewing the page for whatever reason, at the top it's like get quote here. Boom, there it is.
Gotcha. Perfect. All right, Angel, thank you so much for your question today. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, so Jeff, Mr. Hoffmeyer, are you there? Jeff, can you talk to me? All right, his hand is raised, but he doesn't want to chat with me right now. All right, let's see who else has some questions out here. Let's talk to Gary. Hey, Mr. Paulson, how are you today? Can you talk to me? Good. Yeah. I think we answered your questions, but do you have any additional questions, or you want to expound on that question a little bit more?
No, I think it answered my question. I had, when I tested it out, I had looked at the workflow, and because the way it sets up the thing, so let's say you don't even close it on the first day, so the second day it sets up 3 more calls, and you happen to close the sale on that first call that day. If you've got a whole bunch of leads in there, then you've got 2 appointments sitting out in your calendar that you've got to go search for to delete. Otherwise, it's going to show up as a neglected lead, and somebody else is going to call that person again, possibly.
All right. So
and that was my. So I ended up doing like she suggested, and we're using the quick action so that when we're done with calling, the quick action automatically just sets the next appointment if you didn't make contact. So it's working out. We just found a way to do it without the workflow, and the workflow is what really interested me at first, but we're doing it without it.
Okay, that's good to know. I mean, again, everybody's going to find a different way to eat their ice cream, so that's a great point for everyone out there. I personally love the workflows because you guys are pretty awesome. If you're closing on that first or second call, usually we got to call about 8-9 times before we get in touch with them.
Oh yeah, definitely for us too. But the problem is, even if it's on the 9th call, you still have appointment 11 and 12 later in the day that are put in by Blitz that morning.
Gotcha.
You've got to delete. So it doesn't matter if it's the first call of any day, you've got those extra appointments sitting in there.
Okay. So again, your workaround was, and Brittany, if you want to go over that again, because I'm sure other people have that. Can you go and just walk through that real quick? Thank you, Gary, so much for that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's that'll happen sometimes if you do have the multiple appointments per day. So the quick actions, that's one way to do that. You could have it set up where you just have 1 appointment per day, but then you're using the quick actions to add the extra appointments. So the workflow is still reminding you, today I have to do a few things, but maybe the quick actions will add the extra appointments for you. So the quick action here, it's basically a note and an appointment and update all built into one. So if I want to say follow up in 4 hours, if I click this quick action, that added my note here. This also added an appointment for 4 hours later. So that's what Gary was doing, was adding these appointments using the quick action instead of the workflow. If you did have the workflow set up to add all the appointments, you could just go over here to the schedule tab and just delete the other appointments. So that's another option. Whatever works best for you. I mean, we suggest starting with the workflow. If that seems to be causing problems for you, then you can use the quick actions. And everyone is different.
All right, perfect. All right, so we've got some more questions out here, but I don't think we're going to have time to get to them, and I want to get to the poll questions just to make sure we're doing that. So, guys, don't pop off yet. I really need your responses here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch back to me. I'm going to make me the presenter. And I think we went over everything there, how a lead comes in, where the lead's contact information and notes are stored, who's responsible for quoting, how many techniques are being used to contact, how many attempts have been made, and what's the future follow-up schedule. So I believe we went over everything that we said we were going to go over. So that's excellent. So my next poll question to you is, what method do you primarily use to contact your internet leads? Is it phone, email, mailer, text message, social networking? What method do you primarily use to contact your internet lead? Please go ahead and vote right away. What method do you primarily use to contact your internet leads? And remember, those of you that may not remember, or you jumped on a little late, take your cursor, go up to the answer there, and click on, and it will register for us. It'll register for us. All right, I'm going to go ahead and shut the poll down and share the results with you guys. 89% say phone call, 7% say email, nobody's mailing, 4% say text message, and nobody's using social networking. Guys, that should be part of your whole workflow there to contact your leads. Phone, email, text message. If you have it on the form, again, I want to stress this, I don't want to get you in trouble. If you have it on the form that says, are we able to text message you? And then social networking should be one of those as well. We tend to go out and look for the person on Facebook, look for them on LinkedIn, and then send them something that way as well. All right, our next question is, how many times do you attempt to contact someone? How many times do you attempt to contact or to reach the new lead? How many times do you attempt to reach the new lead? So far, 41% of you have voted. I know we're running over a little bit, guys, so go ahead and vote quickly so we can get through our polls here. And you can see what your peers are doing.
I remember reading a...
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I remember I read a statistic a couple of years ago that said the average, I think it was sales in general, the average amount of times was 1 point something.
Yep.
So, you know, common issue with web leads. Very
true. All right, so based on our question here, 4% of you say 1 to 2 times, 39% of you say 3 to 4 times, 22% of you say 5 to 6 times, and 35% of you say 7+ times. Guys, 7+ times should have been your correct answer. And the reason why, let me just kind of walk through this real quick. When an internet lead first puts their stuff out, unless you're using a company like EverQuote or somebody that doesn't really resell their leads, when they first put it out, they're going to get bombarded in the first 15 minutes, okay? Because those folks are using Blitz and they're good about getting back with those folks. They're going to get bombarded. So guess what happens? They stop answering the phone, especially if you're not sending them a quote. You're just calling them and calling them and calling them, but you're not emailing them. You're not sending them anything that says, here's something in your hands for us to talk about. So now they stop answering the phone day 1. A lot of them won't start answering the phone again until day 4 or day 5. Guess what? That's now an aged internet lead. All right, that's why we talk about aged internet leads. A lot of you are buying real time, but because of your workflow practices or because of your lead management practices, you're turning them into aged leads, but you're paying for them like they're real time leads. So you have to remember that, guys. You've got to consistently call, and 25% close within the first 2 days, 75% close days 3 and beyond. So if you're calling twice a day, that means after the second day, you've exhausted 4 attempts. So you're like, oh, I've called them 4 times. They didn't reply back to me. They're not replying back to anybody because you're the 37th person to call today. So that's what you have to remember when you're doing that. All right. All right. So our next poll question, our final poll question is, do you currently have a business relationship with Blitz Lead Manager? Do you currently have a business relationship with Blitz Lead Manager? So go ahead and vote, please. So Brittany, we're going to shut it down. We did go over 10 minutes. You know, they understand, or the folks that come to my webinars all the time understand that that can happen because I'm pretty passionate about making sure that they get good information. You know, so I'm a mentor, not
Definitely.
I'm a mentor, not a consultant.
It's easy.
It is.
It's easy to to keep going, definitely.
There we go. And just for you guys to understand, a mentor is someone who does what you do. They just do it in a different level or do it a different way. A consultant is someone who's selling you something to make your life easier, supposedly. I don't have stuff to sell you to make your life easier other than our mentoring. And that's just a representation of what we do as successful agency owners. So that's what we do. All right, so let me go ahead and stop it here. Looks like the voting has stopped. Let's share the results with you. 74% say yes, I use the technology. 26% say no, I don't currently use the technology. So 74% of the folks that were on the call today were here to find out how to more effectively use Blitz Lead Manager, which is surprising because don't you do a webinar like every week or something that walks through the Blitz Lead Manager program?
Yep, we have a few different webinars. There's a special topics webinar that we do twice a month. I run that one. We have 5 training webinars per week that you can sign up for too. You also can always call into our support line. I mean, we're happy to help. We're always here to talk to you about your process. What is it that you're looking for, and we can help you fine tune that and make it better. And just tell us your ideas, and we, most of the time there's something that we can figure out to put that into place for you.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
Those of you who are who have not used Blitz, you can reach out to us. You can either call or you can email us at sales@blitzleadmanager.com, and we'll be happy to help you out and answer any of your questions. We even do demos if you wanted to go through some things before committing to anything.
Okay, perfect. So guys, this is recorded, and it will be, I'm going to edit it, of course, and